People decide who you are long before you ever get the chance to speak. And most of the time, they don't even realize they're doing it. Because all it takes is one look at your face, your body, the way you stand, the clothes on your back, and suddenly they think they've figured out your entire story, your intentions, your value, even your future. And believe me, once that first impression settles in their mind, very few people ever have the discipline or honesty to question it again. I've walked into rooms where the atmosphere changed the moment I stepped in, where eyes followed me not with curiosity but with judgment. And I've stood in places where I was treated like background noise, like someone invisible. And in both cases, the truth was the same. Nobody actually knew me. Nobody understood what it took to become this version of myself. What it cost to survive a life that doesn't leave room for weakness, but that never stopped them from deciding who I was anyway. People don't wait for truth. They grab whatever story feels easiest and move on. They convince themselves that appearance is proof, that strength means aggression, that silence means emptiness, that confidence means arrogance, because surface-level thinking keeps their world simple and predictable. I didn't choose the face I was born with. I didn't choose the circumstances that hardened me, and neither did you. Yet people treat those things like evidence, like a verdict they can pass without ever asking a real question, or sitting with uncertainty long enough to see something deeper. And it doesn't stop with how you look, because the moment they watch how you move, how you react, how much or how little you say, they start attaching labels that make them feel safe, cold, unstable, dangerous, aggressive, untrustworthy, anything that allows them to believe they understand you without having to actually understand anything at all. Labels are comforting. They protect people from complexity, and complexity forces them to confront things in themselves they'd rather avoid. I've seen men who looked impressive crumble the second pressure showed up, and I've seen quiet people carry more weight than anyone ever noticed, because discipline doesn't announce itself. Pain doesn't always leave scars where others can see them, and restraint is invisible to people who've never had to practice it just to survive. What someone has endured rarely shows on the surface, and that's exactly why judging others is easy while truly seeing them is rare. For a long time, I tried to correct people, tried to adjust how I spoke, or carried myself, thinking that if I explained enough, if I softened certain edges, maybe they'd finally see me clearly, but all that ever did was drain me. Eventually, I realized that most people don't want clarity, they want confirmation. They want you to fit the version they already created in their head. And if you don't, they'll misunderstand you on purpose. So I stopped explaining. I stopped performing. I stopped wasting energy trying to be understood by people who never intended to look past the surface in the first place. I know what I've endured. I know what I've lost. And I know exactly what I'm capable of when things get ugly, and none of that needs validation from someone who made up their mind before I ever opened my mouth. People will misunderstand you, especially when you don't fit neatly into the role they expected you to play. Especially when you refuse to shrink yourself or dilute your presence just to make them more comfortable. That misunderstanding can feel isolating if you let it, and there were times I did. Times where I wondered if something was wrong with me for not being easily digestible, for not being simple, for not fitting into their boxes. But here's the truth. Chasing understanding from people who fear depth will only pull you further away from yourself. You'll start second-guessing your instincts, dulling your edges, questioning your worth, all for the comfort of people who were never willing to meet you halfway. Let them be wrong. Let them stay on the surface. Very few people will ever take the time to see beyond appearances, beyond behavior, beyond reputation. And when you meet those people, you won't need to explain yourself or prove anything. Because real recognition doesn't feel like effort. It feels quiet. It feels steady. It feels like being seen without being dissected. Until then, you learn to stand on your own understanding of who you are. You learn to trust what you've survived more than what others assume. You learn that solitude isn't punishment, sometimes it's protection. So don't twist yourself into something more acceptable. Don't dull your instincts. Don't trade authenticity for approval. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. And some depth scares people because it reminds them of everything they've avoided in themselves. As long as you know who you are when everything unnecessary is stripped away, when there's no audience, no validation, no applause left to chase, that's enough. Everything else is just noise. And I've learned to walk through that noise without flinching.